Kylie Jenner and her sister Kendall are moving forwards with promotion despite Kylie leaving her personal social media on pause. The promotional video appears to be an older video, but it does still mark the first time that the Jenners have made a post following Travis Scott's Astroworld tragedy. At the event, 10 people ranging from ages 9 to 27 lost their lives during a crowd surge that took place at NRG Park in Houston. On top of that, hundreds of other concertgoers were seriously injured, with many in critical condition. Kylie was in attendance at the concert with her sister Kendall and daughter Stormy. According to reports and some fan footage, all three of them were at the very back of the audience in a VIP section, and when the mayhem began to unfold, they were safely escorted out. A lot of people took issue with both Kendall and Kylie making posts following what happened. Kylie was mainly dragged over her Instagram story of that ambulance driving through the crowd, and Kendall was called out for posting a photo of herself standing behind Travis Scott's main stage. A lot of the comments simply said, "Take this down," with others adding that it was insensitive for her to post something. Eventually she did remove the picture, but now the sisters are trying to move forwards with promoting their brand. The official Instagram for Kendall and Kylie shared an old promo video, as I mentioned earlier, that shows the duo announcing that their brand will now be available in the UAE. In the caption, the account writes, "We are so excited that you can now shop #Kendall and Kylie styles in the UAE." And despite there being lots of hardcore fans in the comments that were excited about this new promo, some were not as happy. One user commented, "The fact that this is so low quality is sad. At least make a new video. LOL, they definitely forgot they had this line." And the sister collab company launched back in 2012 and was partnered with the retailer PacSun, which, funny enough, was also created by the sisters. So they did a collab together and then collab with the company that they started. Alright. However, someone else must have been behind this promotional post because both Kylie and Kendall have not posted on either of their personal pages. In addition to that, Kylie has not posted anything on Kylie Cosmetics, Kylie Skin, or Kylie Baby since November 5th. Who knows though, this may have been a way of them testing the waters to see if they could hop back on promoting their businesses. Because you have to know that just from association, both of their personal brands had to have taken a hit from this. Kylie especially has not been able to promote her various companies on her personal page, and that is definitely going to be costing her a ton of direct sales. Although Kylie flew back to Los Angeles with Stormy, Travis Scott is still in Houston as he attempts to sort out the mess that he made by continuing to perform after people needed help. We saw many videos from that evening, but one in particular was especially disturbing. There was a video of this woman who climbed up onto the side of the stage and was desperately trying to tell the cameraman to get them to stop the show. She repeatedly said that people were dying in the crowd, and all he did was just swat her away as he continued to record Travis Scott's performance. Despite chants even coming from the crowd of people wanting to stop the show, Travis carried on for another 40 minutes before the show was finally shut down. Within that time frame though, he and Drake are said to have amped up the chaos that was already overwhelming the crowd. After learning about what happened hours later, Kylie Jenner quickly published a statement where she expressed her grief over the lives that were lost and then tried to make it clear that she and Travis had no idea of what was going on. However, city officials are still investigating where the problem started in the crowd that soon turned to pandemonium. Houston police is also putting most of the blame on Travis Scott after footage emerged of Houston cops just casually filming the show during what they later called was a mass casualty event. If you recall, we recently did a video about how Travis Scott was facing $750 million in lawsuits for Astroworld. Believe it or not, but now that number has now been added to a whopping $2 billion lawsuit. Yes, billion with a capital B. A Texas-based attorney has now filed a $2 billion lawsuit against Travis Scott, Live Nation, and other people that were involved in this tragedy. Attorney Thomas J. Henry filed the lawsuit, and the list of the defendants may be long, but the people that he was hired to represent is longer. The defendants listed in this suit include Travis Scott, Drake, Apple Music, and NRG Stadium, but on the other side he is representing 282 Astroworld concert goers. In a statement to the press regarding this massive lawsuit, Henry said, "The defendants stood to make an exorbitant amount of money off of this event, and they still chose to cut corners, cut costs, and put attendees at risk." Adding, "My clients want to ensure the defendants are held responsible for their actions, and they want to send the message to all performers, event organizers, and promoters that what happened at Astroworld cannot happen again." Ever since filing this massive lawsuit, this attorney claims that an additional 120 people have reached out to him looking for representation in this case. After filing, Thomas did an interview with Hollywood Life and went into detail about some of the injuries that his clients are facing. His clients are understandably traumatized from having to step over the bodies of people that lost their lives during this festival, and then he adds, "They didn't have a choice because there was nowhere to move. These people were trapped. They couldn't breathe. They couldn't get out." This lawsuit also shed some light on Apple Music's disastrous role in this festival. Henry alleges that Apple's obtaining of the festival's online streaming rights played a critical role in the crowd control disaster. The lawsuit goes on to say, "Early reports from the investigation of the Astroworld catastrophe indicate that the premises were arranged in a fashion that best served Apple's online streaming of the concert at the detriment to concert goer safety." However, Apple Music has yet to release any statement in regards to these allegations. donations. Travis Scott is making sure to act fast though, and announced soon after that he would be paying for the funeral costs of the victims at Astroworld. However, with a $2 billion lawsuit on the table, I don't know how much of that he will personally have to fork up. He might not have the money to help pay for these funeral expenses. Live Nation and another promoter called Score More also released a statement on how they will be handling the next steps. On Twitter they said, "We wanted to provide an update on the steps that Score More, Live Nation, and the Astroworld Fest team have been taking. Throughout the weekend, we have been working to provide local authorities with everything they need from us in order to complete their investigation and get everyone the answers they are looking for. Our staff has met with local authorities to provide information, and we have also provided them with all footage from our CCTV cameras. Loadout of the site and equipment is currently paused to give investigators the time they requested to walk and document the grounds. Full refunds are being offered for all those who purchased tickets, and most importantly, we are working on ways to support attendees, the families of victims, and staff, from providing mental health counseling to setting up a health fund to help with costs for medical expenses. Our entire team is mourning alongside the community." Also, just so we're clear, this $2 billion lawsuit is on top of the other $750 million that attorney Tony Busby is seeking for 125 other people that were also affected by this tragedy. We also had a statement from the CEO of Paradox, which was the medical company hired by Astroworld for the event. While speaking with CNN, the CEO, Alex Pollock, said, "This is something I'll have nightmares about for the rest of my life. The team is extremely broken up about it. Seeing so many young people getting CPR at one time is just something no one should have to go through. Even though we're medical professionals, we should be used to it. You can't get used to something like that." This was truly an impossible feat though. To have 11 people go into cardiac arrest at the same time would definitely give anyone nightmares, especially if it's your job to help them. I mean, who do you even choose to start with? Then on top of that, they said that the other concert goers did not make their job easy. Alex goes on to add, "We were doing CPR on the back of carts trying to get out of that crowd. People were jumping on top of the carts, they were pulling us off of people. They thought it was a joke." I could not even imagine what those working conditions must have felt like, and hopefully people are actually held accountable for this disaster.
And at number 10, Shane Morris. Following the Astroworld tragedy, Travis Scott's former colleague Shane Morris came forward to expose that Scott left him in the middle of a medical emergency. A tweet went viral days after the tragedy that brought this incident up again for those who had not heard it. Then an old Tumblr post from Shane Morris stated that Travis left him for dead after he had a seizure at a recording studio. Shane wrote that Travis and some of his friends were in a studio late at night, partying and making music. Then when Morris had a seizure, Travis decided to leave him instead of getting him the help that he needed. Morris wrote, quote, "You know what Travis Scott did? He left. He and his friend Tony left me. I eventually ended up at the hospital that night, but Travis couldn't be bothered." The pair were not strangers either and had been working together for years beforehand, making the betrayal even more painful. Apparently after that, Travis decided he didn't want Morris to manage him because apparently Travis didn't want a manager that has seizures. And at number 9, paralyzed fan. As we've said before, Travis has encouraged reckless behavior at his concerts, but things went too far in 2017 at a New York City venue. Kyle Green, who claims he was allegedly pushed off a balcony, suffered significant injuries that left him paralyzed from the fall. He says that he was pushed off a balcony by the surging crowd and blames Travis Scott. Recalling the incident, Green said, quote, "I fell and hit the floor. Before I knew it, I was surrounded by security guards who scooped me up. Travis Scott was yelling at his security guards to bring me to the stage. They didn't put a backboard or a neck brace on me or anything. They just kinda lifted me up and pulled me around. Then they dropped me in front of the stage." Travis did not push for Green to get help, but rather egged on the situation and made things worse. Bragged about injured fans. Recently, TMZ uncovered that Travis had multiple images of his fans either passed out or even deceased on his Instagram page and seemed to be promoting the reckless behavior. In resurfaced Instagram posts, Travis took photos of his seriously injured fans and praised them for committing to the rage. I can't show you the photos, but they were still up on his Instagram page when TMZ first reported this. The posts are from 2014 and 2015, and they both show a person passed out on the ground. One photo showed a person laying on the floor not moving with their eyes open. It looked as if the person was deceased, and Travis captioned it WTF. The other post shows a man on the ground not moving, and Travis captioned the haunting photo, quote, "To the kid that didn't survive the rodeo, you're a hero in my book." And at number 7, partied after tragedy. TMZ reported that right after the tragedy unfolded at the Astroworld Festival, Drake and Travis Scott went to Dave & Buster's to party. After this was exposed, his rep stated that Travis didn't know the extent of what happened and didn't know the police labeled it a mass casualty event. Apparently Travis was not told that people had passed away in the crowd and hundreds more were injured. The source said, quote, "Travis didn't know the severity of the situation when he arrived at the party. As far as timing, this remains consistent with the fact that no one, including the police, had publicly confirmed the gravity of the events that had taken place." Apparently, after Travis's reps told him the details, he immediately left the party. And at number 6, SZA trashes Travis. After the Astroworld tragedy, videos have been going viral of other artists stopping their concerts once they see someone is in danger. One of these artists was SZA, who recently stopped her concert in Salt Lake City to bring attention to a fan that was passed out at the concert. SZA told the crowd that people passing out in crowds is quite common, what is abnormal is people dying. And she says that's gotta change going forward, starting right then and there. She even brought up Travis and said that she was not trying to have that kind of tragedy happen at her event. This is the first of many of these videos coming out, and it's clear that artists believe they should stop the show if needed. Halfway number 5, warned by police. Following the tragedy, it was exposed that Travis had actually been warned by the police to not get the crowd too rowdy. Apparently, police knew of his history and didn't want mayhem to break out. Houston Police Chief Troy Finner said in a tweet, quote, "I met with Travis Scott and his head of security for a few moments last Friday prior to the main event. I expressed my concerns regarding public safety and that in my 31 years of law enforcement experience, I have never seen a time with more challenges facing citizens of all ages, to include a global pandemic and social tension throughout the nation." Apparently, the chief also told Travis to be mindful of his social media activity, as he had been known to tell attendees to break down barriers of concerts. A source told the New York Times the chief's concerns were specifically over the crowd's energy, and for months, concert organizers braced themselves for chaos, knowing that Travis's crowds could be difficult to control. And at number 4, petition to stop Coachella performance. A petition has been created calling on the co-founder of the Coachella Valley Music and Arts Festival, Paul Tollett, to drop Travis Scott from the event that will be held in April of 2022. The Change.org petition was created weeks ago by Sendero Secreto. The summary of the petition states, quote, "With the recent tragic and unnecessary death of Travis Scott's Astroworld concert, due to Scott's own gross negligence and sheer lack of compassion for human life, we ask AEG, Paul Tollett, and Golden Voice to remove him as a performer at all their festivals." The petition now has over 20,000 signatures. The creator also addressed Travis's video apology, saying it was clear that Travis is trying to avoid blame and he didn't think that Scott was being genuine in the video. And at number 3, GQ video on raging. Before the Astroworld Festival, Travis was known for his high-energy concerts where he would encourage the crowd to rage with him. Now an old GQ video on the subject of raging is resurfacing. In the 2015 interview called How to Rage with Travis Scott, he explained his high-energy raging came from his love of wrestling as a kid, saying that since he was 6 he loved wrestling and wants his concerts to feel like the WWE. He added that he can perform anywhere, saying, quote, "I just need air and a mic. I don't need a stage to effing perform, no. We just need something to stand on. It could be somebody." And obviously, following the tragedy, the fact that he said standing on top of someone else is something people could do is very alarming. And at number 2, cringy Kylie interview. This one isn't related to the Astroworld event, but this Kylie Travis GQ interview from 2018 is probably the cringiest thing I've ever seen, and the comments of the video reflect that. This was one of the first press interviews the couple did when they started dating, and I don't think anyone will ever forget it. The structure of the interview is that Kylie asked Travis 23 questions about herself to see if Travis knew the correct answers. In the end, Travis got 20 out of the 23 questions right, but anyone that actually watched the interview knows that's only because Kylie would basically change her answers so that Travis would be right. In reality, it seemed that Travis hardly knew anything about her, and it was really cringy watching Kylie try to get the right answers from Travis. And finally, number 1, encourage fans to defy safety protocols. Travis's reputation for rowdy performances was cemented in 2015 during the Lollapalooza festival in Chicago. When he took the stage, things got so rowdy the performance was stopped only minutes after it started, and police charged him with disorderly conduct, saying that he was encouraging fans to jump barriers and rush the stage in defiance of festival security measures. Travis reportedly said to fans, quote, "Middle finger up to security right now." Then in 2017, he was arrested in Arkansas and was accused of inviting fans to bypass security and rush the stage at a show. No injuries were reported, but it proves that he does not care about the safety or security of fans. He just wants to have the craziest shows possible.
Travis Scott is not new to the world of controversy, and therefore celebrities warning the public about him is nothing new to him either. Not every music show is the same, but for Travis, he sought to make his show the most unique. His shows became known for their aggressive mosh pits, and more often than not, Travis would post about concert goers who injured themselves at his shows. Today, though, we're going to be taking a look at all of the warnings that we missed in regards to Travis Scott. For starters, we have to start with someone that had close ties with Travis Scott, but you definitely wouldn't call call him a celebrity. Travis Scott's former manager Shane Morris actually tried to warn people about Travis a long time ago. For almost 2 years, Shane had been managing Travis and working with him to build him up in the music industry. However, early on when they were working together, Shane caught Travis trying to steal a bounce from a session that he and music producer Nelson London were working on. He had come to Shane's apartment in Beverly Hills and started screaming at him when he was caught and said, "I've got a meeting with T.I., Shane. I need that bounce. I need to show it to T.I." Shane explained to him that this isn't your music. If you're taking that session in, you need to go with Nelson because he did the majority of the production on that. However, perhaps the worst character move that Travis could have made wasn't stealing at all. It was not helping a friend when they needed them the most. This Shane guy helped Travis out so much in the beginning, but when he needed help, Travis dipped. Shane goes on to say that one night while they were in the studio having a party, music was playing, we were all having fun, and then I did what all epileptic people do from time to time. I had a seizure. You know what Travis Scott did? He left. He and his friend Tony left me. I eventually ended up at the hospital that night, but Travis couldn't be bothered. Then on top of that, when he recovered, Travis explained to him that he didn't want a manager that was going to be having seizures, which really set Shane off. He goes on to say, "I exploded. If there's one thing you don't do, it's use my disability against me as a reason to say I'm not worthy in my business." Travis Scott is the kind of person who discriminates based on disability. He steals from the musicians around him, then he manipulates people into thinking he did it all on his own. Piers Morgan was another person, though, that decided to weigh in on the Travis Scott situation. Piers is no stranger to giving his opinion on controversial matters. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's how he makes all of his money. But aside from that, Piers wrote a scathing article for the Daily Mail warning people about Travis Scott. The headline of the article itself takes so many shots at Scott and says, "Travis Scott has repeatedly given a snarling middle finger to the safety of his fans, and this deadly, predictable disaster is a direct result of his arrogant and shameful recklessness." In the article, Piers details the horrific accounts of the people that were actually in attendance for the festival, as well as taking shots at how Travis reacted to the news. In one clip from the show, Travis Scott can be heard shouting to the crowd, "I want to see some rages. Who wants to rage?" But then just moments later, he sees an ambulance enter the arena and says, "There's an ambulance in the crowd, whoa, whoa, whoa," before continuing to sing a few seconds later. This was viewed as something that only provoked the crowd to engage in more chaos, which led to Piers giving the warning to people that Mr. Scott's shocked disbelief of what happened was disingenuous, self-protective claptrap. His words, not mine. The interesting thing about this warning, though, was that he also brings up an incident involving Travis in 2015. If you didn't know, Travis Scott pleaded guilty to a charge of reckless conduct after urging fans to jump over safety barricades during Lollapalooza. Travis is quoted as saying at this concert, "All my real ragers jump the barricade right now. Let's go. Come over, I want chaos." And he got exactly what he wanted. Hundreds of fans stormed over those barricades and charged towards the stage. The only reason a disaster was avoided in this scenario, though, was because the safety officials at the event were able to act fast. The Office of Emergency Management even weighed in on what happened that night and said, "The performer played one song and then began telling fans to come over the barricades. Due to the security's quick response, the situation was remedied immediately and no fans were injured." Another person who had issues early on with Travis Scott was Kris Jenner. Travis Scott and Kris Jenner already were not in a good place. Now, this most recent incident is definitely going to be testing their relationship yet again. I don't think Kris is going to be acting very friendly towards Travis Scott after so many people threw shade at Kylie for attending and filming that ambulance that drove through the crowd. Back when there were allegations that Travis was cheating, a source close to the family told the press, "Kris is furious with Travis over his careless attitude with Kylie. Kris never sees Travis around, and when she does see him, Travis does not seem very present or engaged with the family." And now with his ties to Kylie affecting her business, it's pretty safe to say that these two won't be on good terms.